You, my people of Manasquan, 302 years have swiftly gone by since the white man first made settlements on this beautiful shore. Before that time, the red man ruled. 202 of these years passed before the borough its charter did receive. And so does Manasquan celebrate. And in honor to our borough do state and nation make their salutation. Let this commemoration be in praise of the past and in highest expectations of the days to come, with songs of praise and thanksgiving to the great Creator, whose days are without end. Let it be with words of congratulation and melody of music, grace of dance, and in lovely pictures, vivid with color of our historic scenes. Let us give due honor to those from whom we owe our heritage, that we may know more vividly our great tradition, and that every age, race, and occupation may all be united as never before to serve as a borough in our own day and generation. My friends, my neighbors, my fellow Manasquanians, we have much to be thankful for this evening. This quiet town nestled by the great ocean to the east, our fine river to the south, and forests and greenery to the west and the north is indeed an oasis in an otherwise dark and shadowy world. Like the mythical Brigadoon, which appeared only once every 100 years, we this evening come together out of the darkness, the fear, the trepidation of the modern world, and celebrate the loveliness of our fair town. Let us begin our celebration by offering our thanks to our God, our Creator, who has so blessed us with this beautiful town. Into the stillness of the vast territory, softly glides an Indian scout. He is searching for a suitable camping ground for his tribe. They have come to hunt and fish on these beautiful shores. Quietly he calls, and the braves, led by their chief, advance, followed by the children and the squaws with their burdens. Quickly the wigwams are set up, and the young braves kindle their campfires and now rest after their day's labors. The first white men are greeted by the Indians. The chief has risen to greet them. All is well. They are united in friendship. was signed by Governor Nichols of New York in 1665. No white man lived in this vicinity at the time, but men from Long Island had visited it, and they found it a desirable place to live in. They made friends with the Indians, signed treaties with their sachems, and paid them in full for their land. Before taking possession, they desired a title from the representative of the British Crown. These men sailed from Long Island to what is now Monmouth, took the Indian chiefs to New York before Governor Nichols, that all might be done decently and in order. The meeting was in the old Stadthouse. The patent was duly signed April the 8th, 1665, in the presence of Governor Nichols and his staff in British uniform of red and gold. 16 Indians in their primitive dress, the settlers in gray garb of the Quakers and Puritans and Long Island Dutch. They enter, the white and the red. As one advanced to the council table, and there they are greeted as one by the white man's governor. And now they are seated, and Governor Nichols has commenced the settlements. See, he consults the red men also. It is well the white men have kept their promise, and the Indians are satisfied. The document is ready to be signed. The red men have glanced at it and seem content. The governor has paid the Indians handsomely for their tract of land. The land is now the land of the whites. George Fox, an Englishman, founder of the religious society of Friends called Quakers, made a journey through Jersey in 1672. Most of the roads were Indian trails, and Fox was guided by the Indians. He held meetings with groups of Quakers, many of whom had come to Jersey from New England to escape persecution. He met with Indians in their villages. The present Manasquan Meeting House is located on what was originally one of these Indian trails. See the Indian guides advance to announce the coming of their beloved leader, George Fox. Even now, all who have received notice of the journey are gathering that they may meet with him for advice and strength. The Indians are deeply impressed with the solemnity of the silent gathering of these people in their midst, and they try to be one with them in spirit.
All should know the dealings of the Lord with me, the various exercises, trials, and troubles through which he led me, to prepare me and fit me for the work to which he had appointed me. Thereby I was drawn to admire and glorify his infinite goodness and wisdom. I briefly mention how it was with me in my youth. The work of the Lord was begun and gradually carried on in me from my childhood. I was born in July in the year 1624 at Drayton in Leicestershire. In my youth, I had a gravity and stayedness in mind and spirit not usual in children. I had seen old men carry themselves lightly towards each other, and had a dislike thereof rise in my heart. I said to myself, if ever a man, I would not act so. When I came to 11 years of age, I knew pureness and righteousness and learned how to walk to be kept pure. Afterwards, my relations thought to have me become a priest, but others persuaded to the contrary. I was apprenticed to a shoemaker who also dealt in wool, used grazing and sold cattle, giving me a great experience. When I came towards 19 years of age, at the command of God, I broke off all familiarity and fellowship with young and old. It was from this time on that I traveled about, listening to others, both non-religious persons and clergymen. I meditated and prayed. Eventually, I traveled, spoke to others about what had been made known to me of God, both in the Old World and the New, especially Delaware, New Jersey, and Connecticut. "1776, the year the light of a single candle illuminated the entire world. It was not only the separation from an evil empire that was sought by these patriots, these freedom fighters, but it was the universal law
that dictates that all men are free, a belief even more precious than life itself. Thomas Jefferson.
As long as we were young and weak, the English, whom we had left behind, had us carry all of the wealth to their country to enrich them. But not satisfied with this, they began to call us their slaves and say that we should do as they ordered us to. But we were now grown up, felt ourselves strong. We knew we were as free as they were.
Along with Jefferson was such a man as John Adams. Here he reads a letter from an Englishman, Lord Chatham.
I love the Americans because they love liberty. And I love them for their noble efforts that they made in the last war. But they must be subordinate in all laws relating to trade and navigation especially. This is the mother country. They are the children. We must dictate. They must obey. Rubbish, I say. We obey none but the great God above.
Treason. In an effort to impress the master-slave relationship, England's judges sent a letter to the colonies, informing them of the consequences if they continue this rebellion. Benjamin Franklin.
Our English judges tried to intimidate us. You are to be drawn on hurdles to the place of execution, where you are to be hanged by the neck, but not until you are dead. For while you are still living, your bodies are to be taken down, your bowels torn out, burned before your faces, your heads then cut off, and our bodies divided into 4 quarters, and your heads and quarters to be placed at the king's disposal. And may Almighty God have mercy on your souls. Sounds dreadful, doesn't it? But not nearly so dreadful as involuntary slavery. May God have mercy on your souls.
But America was not afraid. Her small flame, kindled in July of 1776, was only made stronger by such patriots as Patrick Henry.
Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called in to win back our love? Shall we try argument? Sir, we have been trying that for the last 10 years. Shall we resort to entreaty and humble supplication? What terms shall we find which have not been already exhausted? We have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated ourselves before the throne. We have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne. There's no longer any room for hope. I wish to be free. dear, or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God! I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death!
The Continental government had erected salt works all along our coast. One was erected on the south side of the Manasquan Inlet. In the early parts of the year 1778, all of these works had been greatly damaged by storms. On April 8th, a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, a troop of British soldiers under Captain Robertson landed on the south side of the inlet, burnt the salt works, and broke the kettles. These depredations from the British continued all along the coast until the end of the Revolutionary War. There is no creation of God more changeable than the sea. We view the sea as a tranquil, azure expanse of delightful solitude, but it may quickly change its mood. A northeast gale, tide running toward the beach, a sandbar just off the shore, and the end of another ship and her company. The wreck in pieces lies high on the shore, while the waves, ever restless, are rolling, and the wind blowing softly will moan evermore like a bell that is ceaselessly tolling. The Live Oak, October 1769. 4 saved, 14 dead. The Cornelius Grinnell, February 1853, all 270 immigrants saved. The Antioch, March 1913, all hands saved. The Morro Castle, September 1934, 126 lost, 450 saved, all by the brave men of Squan Beach. Children must ever be first in our hearts and minds. Through them alone will come the advancement of our borough. Gather together now the men of the settlement to hold their first council meeting. The first mayor, Edward Shook Van Leer, presided over the gathering.
All right, men. I think it is time. Shall we begin our first meeting? Our first order of business is to make this meeting legal and official. First, let me call the roll. Councilman Erickson.
Here.
Councilman Klein.
Here.
Councilman Dan Cook.
Here.
Councilman Theodore Cook.
Here.
Councilman Curtis.
Here.
Councilman Taylor.
Here.
George, since you are going to be appointed clerk, would you please stand and swear us in?
And please repeat after me. Better raise your right hand. I, Edward Shook Van Leer,
I, Edward Shook Van Leer,
solemnly swear before God
solemnly swear before God
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
perform the duties of mayor of the borough known as the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Manasquan in Monmouth County in the state of New Jersey,
perform the duties of mayor of the borough known as the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Manasquan in Monmouth County in the state of New Jersey.
Congratulations, Ed.
Congratulations.
Will all the other councilmen repeat after me? I, your names please,
I, George Klein,
solemnly swear before God
solemnly swear before God
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
perform the duties of councilman of the borough
perform the duties of councilman of the borough,
known as the Mayor and Council
known as the Mayor and Council
of the Borough of Manasquan
of the Borough of Manasquan
in Monmouth County
in Monmouth County
in the state of New Jersey.
in the state of New Jersey.
Congratulations.
George, please remain for a moment. We need to appoint two other people. Let's begin with you, George. To all and to whom these presents shall come greeting, we, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Manasquan, do hereby appoint George M. Davison, a suitable person, resident in said borough, to be the borough clerk. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Wainwright, would you please come and be sworn in? To all and to whom these presents shall come greeting, we, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Manasquan, do hereby appoint Halstead Wainwright to be Corporation Counsel for said Mayor and Council of the Borough of Manasquan. Congratulations, Halstead.
Thank you, Mayor.
Gentlemen, today, this 19th day of January, 1888, we are met for the first time as a governing body. It is most important that such ordinances and regulations shall be passed to ensure the safety and the protection of the inhabitants of Manasquan. Motions would now be in order.
O my people, for a brief time you have lived again with those brave men and women of the past who have truly made this, our town, a good and pleasant place to live in. May we never forget their noble lives and sacrifices. So likewise may we live in the present with our work and play, our faith and hope, looking ever forward into the future. We present here are witnesses to a commitment, a renewal of faith and confidence in our fair borough. May this Pact of Manasquan remain as a document of faith and trust made by the townspeople of 1987 to all future generations. Sentinels of Manasquan, advance.
I, as industry, shall ever stand watch over this our fair borough, and so I sign my pledge to Manasquan.
I, as religion, shall ever stand by day and by night over my people who love and serve their God. So do I sign my pledge to Manasquan.
I, as education, shall ever stand ready to teach and enlighten the minds of my people. So do I sign my pledge to Manasquan.
I, as patriotism, shall ever instill into the hearts of my people a true sense of loyalty. So do I sign my pledge to Manasquan.
And now the Pact of Manasquan is signed. Will the witnesses please come forward?
I, representing this state, witness the signing of this pact.
I, representing the United States of America, do sign my name as a witness to this pact.
I, as mayor of Manasquan, add my name to this list of witnesses.
And I, as Manasquan of this historical pageant, sign also. May the future generations of our fair borough look back on this night with reverence and with pride at what we, the people of 1987, have done here tonight. Here lies the glory of our borough. Are you ready for the forward march of Manasquan?
Aye.
Then may our legions advance. I greet you, my people. May your lives be ever peaceful and industrious. May God be gracious to you all. Let the acclamation of my people ring forth. Will you please rise and repeat after me? We pledge now and forever loyalty to our borough. Now we will conclude this grand evening by singing our Manasquan anthem. The words are on the back of your program.
Mr. Weiser, all of your time and dedication has once again proved to be invaluable to the piecing together of this historic pageant. It has been a great honor for all of us who have participated in this production, and we'd like to present this gift to you as a small token of our appreciation.
Presented to Lee Weiser. Thank you for composing, directing, and producing the 1987 Manasquan Pageant Historical. From the cast and the Centennial Committee. Thank you again, Lee.
Would everybody please sit down? I just wanted to, and it's the last evening of this, and I'm going to make mention of a few things, and I don't really need this much. Thank you for composing, directing, and producing is something that I shall, treasure for a great number of years. I hope that I'm here for the next one, but it doesn't look likely. That's a long time, 50 more years. But as you can tell from looking around you, it obviously has not been a one-man show. And I appreciate this, and I shall treasure it. There's other people that need to be mentioned, and a couple of them very much so, who have done a great deal and are very important to this whole production. First of all, I'd like to bring up, and I'm going to embarrass a few people, but that's too bad. I'm going to start with the person who composed our Manasquan anthem. Mr. Peter Myers, would you please come up? There's not many towns that have an anthem, but there's no town that has an anthem like this one. On the composing side of things, I'd like to also introduce to you our other composer this evening, a person who is also no stranger to most of us, Mr. Timothy Broge of the Manasquan Rag. It's not often I get to see Mr. Broge dressed the way he is this evening. Now I would like to bring out a few people that you don't see around you too much. First of all, if it wasn't for this person, you wouldn't be seeing anything tonight, and that's the person who's responsible for this lighting and this masterpiece of electrical conduit. William Woody Dunwoody. Woody, please come up. I'd also like to bring up the person that without her, it would have looked very barren on these stages. And that's our costume mistress, Miss Betsy Tuxell. Betsy, please come up. And without whom no one up there would even be standing, on anything. All I can say is a big hearty thanks to kind of a new old-time worker, someone who I taught some years ago, and now he's out building things with wood, and a great help and a wonderful person, Jeff Eyrick. He'll hate me for that. And our sound person, Tracy Thompson, does it all the time. Tracy, come on up. Now there's no one back there. I can say what I want. There's so many more people, and I do want to recognize one more, and he's responsible for the beautiful paintings that you see. The one on my right with the Nancy B, and the one on our left with the seashore he made for our show Carousel last spring, Carl Danish. Most of all, I think that we have to thank the person who brought this to my attention, and the person who you're going to see probably a lot more of this week, and who's probably going to be the happiest person alive come next week. She'll probably feel like I feel tonight, and that's Mrs. Messick. Here, here.
Well, so far everything's been fine, and I thank every one of you, and we couldn't do it without you. This has just been marvelous. The parade yesterday, the pageant. Lee, I certainly do thank you. I taught Lee in school.
And we wouldn't be anywhere without the wonderful townspeople. These beautiful people, most of whom have had no acting experience, most of whom probably hate me for putting them in some of these costumes, but inside they have loved it. And they are what the people in 1937 were about. It's what you are about. It's what we're all here about. The love of Manasquan and the joy of living in Manasquan. That's our cast. And the only other thing is, if you were here last night, not to use jokes that I've used before, but I guess Bob Hope does it too. As I said to our good mayor, Wintersteller, and his council last night, they've probably never had a council meeting in front of so many people before. And I would like to thank my choir behind me. And the lovely townspeople, of course, who came out to sing in the choir and participate in this production. I could go on and on. There's too many people. I do want you to know that last night, I don't know whether anybody sat in the front row and looked very closely at the Pact of Manasquan last night, but it had big red magic marker said Pact of Man, and it said, this is just for practice. Tomorrow night's the real thing. Because we only made up one, and there really is a Pact of Manasquan. And it says, hear ye, let it be known to all men that on this fair evening, the 4th day of October, 1987, as a final action of the Manasquan Pageant Historical, we, the Sentinels of Manasquan, do hereby make our pledges. And there are their pledges signed and witnessed by Manasquan State, Nation, and the Mayor of Manasquan. So we have something left of the pageant that we can perhaps preserve for a little bit. At any rate, in closing, I hope the rest of the week is fun for all of you. There's a lot of good events planned around town. It's been a great weekend. This has been a lot of fun. It's like I don't know who it was that wrote that article in the paper. I guess I did say it. Give me 2 weeks in the Bahamas and I'd do this whole thing again. Give me 2 weeks in the Bahamas and I'll think about it. Thank you and good night.
This is Lee Weisert, the composer and director of the 1987 pageant. And I'd like to give you a little background on the pageant. The plans for the 1987 pageant began in October of 1986, almost 1 year before the 1987 performance. Mrs. Messick had given me a copy of the 1937 pageant and suggested I think about producing an updated performance. After reading the pageant and doing some independent research, I decided to go ahead with the project. My initial thoughts were I would need some local tech people who could handle such a major project. William Woody Dunwoody had been a friend who was a lighting and electrical expert. Another good friend who had been responsible for most of my sound and recording work was Tracy Thompson, an audio engineer. And Peter Myers, a friend and local musician, also came on board. Our newly organized committee met in the fall of 1986, and our first concept was to perform the pageant outdoors as they did in 1937. We considered doing it at the Pompano parking lot, as there was a large open space available at the far end of the lot. We thought that we could have an afternoon picnic for the town, followed by the pageant, and then fireworks. It seemed like a good idea, but when we considered the cost, in excess of $30,000, and the logistical nightmare of doing this outdoors, we needed to reconsider. The original pageant was performed with a tableau format. Not so much acting, but more illustration. There was a choir and a celebration band, and many townspeople taking part. They used different characters, people like Uncle Sam and the Goddess of Liberty, and other symbolic figures. They used multiple pages and mounted flag bearers, horses. The person playing the role of Manasquan was carried in on a palanquin, carried by 6 of those such pages. From what little remains in pictures from 1937 gave us more than one wow moment. To this day, I'm simply amazed at what they did accomplish in 1937. After much discussion, we decided that our pageant would have a similar look to the original, except that it would have all original music, more complex acting, lighting, and staging. Peter was ready to contribute an original composition, the Manasquan Anthem. Local composer Tim Broge wrote the Manasquan Rag, which we incorporated into the show. We had the entire production mapped out and organized by spring, with a complete budget proposal approved by the Centennial Committee. One of the major problems was the venue. After much consideration, we decided that the high school gymnasium was the only building large enough to hold a production of this magnitude. The main concern was that it was football season, and the gym classes would be using the gym daily. We were able to secure the entire gym for our needs from Thursday, September 30th through Monday, October 5th. With the exception of some football players who knocked over a couple of chairs, lights, and so forth on the gym floor, everything turned out to be fine. I decided that I would compose an original score which would contain music for each scene. I wanted the music to have an Americana theme to it, so I tried to make most of the music have a bit of Aaron Coplandish sound to it. I had no idea the music would end up being such a major undertaking. I began composing July 1st. It was during the summer when we began getting down to the nitty-gritty. 2 people became my assistants, Sherry Morris Capac and Lynn Nagel. Sherry had been a classmate of mine from kindergarten through high school, and Lynn was a former student. It was during the summer when another former student and carpenter, Jeff Irick, came aboard and managed to get the set designs implemented. Betsy Tuxell joined in and helped with costume planning. We had our usual discussions about lighting and sound, but Woody ironed out all the problems and set up a basic design of what lights we needed and how exactly we were going to hang them in the gym. As you can see by these pictures, our lighting design involved building a lighting grid out of steel strut, hanging that from the ceiling, and then attaching all the lights to it. We utilized over 100 lights. The rigging was done by Michael Applegate of Applegate Moving and Storage in Manasquan. We also had to get actors. We sent out invitations in the CoStar and through as many other means as possible. The cast was going to have to be huge, and we needed children as well as adults. Betsy fitted costumes all summer. We made some, borrowed some, and even rented some. Several people, townspeople, including Mrs. Serpic, a longtime resident of Manasquan, actually found old tuxedos and useful garbs hidden away in boxes in the attic. One of the major obstacles was finding people to portray the Sentinels and Manasquan himself. Reverend Wookter from the Lutheran Church came through as a popular and respected figure needed to portray the narrator, or Manasquan. The principal of Manasquan High School at the time, Jeffrey Osborne, spoke to a friend of his, a man who owned the hardware store in town, George Dempsey, to play the part of Industry. George is, of course, our present mayor here in 2012. A good friend of theirs and of education was Ray McGreevy. He took the part of the Sentinel for Education. Ralph Barrett was pastor of the Manasquan Methodist Church, and he became the Sentinel for Religion. In looking for the Sentinel for Loyalty, I remembered the father of a boyhood friend, a Mike Zakowski, who had one of the most beautiful deep-speaking voices and was a veteran. Stan Zakowski became the Sentinel for Loyalty. This was the case of our Sentinel for the Nation as well, Joe Hancock. Joe was a well-known, liked, and respected man in Manasquan. He was quiet, unassuming, and always had a hello for everyone. He was a postman. And I remember, even when I was a child, Joe smiling and saying hello to me, and everyone else for that matter. He was like everyone's uncle. Joe's wife was taken ill at the beginning of the show, and yet he continued and made it through the performances. I remember watching him during those performances and feeling a lump in my throat, thinking how proud his wife must be for him. The mayor and council, led by then-mayor John Wintersteller, were great to work with, and every one of them had such a big smile on their faces during the show, so proud of their performance and of their town. George Rowe was a big help. George was a Quaker, and he organized the Quaker scene. A musician and teacher of note, George had a great sense of timing and drama. In fact, George was in the original pageant of 1937. Noted surgeon and author Peter Gathorne played the part of George Fox. Aaron Clancy was a junior in high school in Manasquan and an aspiring dancer at the time, who got together and auditioned the dancers and choreographed the ballet. The ballet was called The Sleeping Princess. She was later joined by Betsy Tuxell's student, Marisa Wigglesworth. Each scene had a director. While I gave them the basic directions of what I wanted, they practiced with their own cast and put everything together on their own. Howard Rockhill, a Spring Lake Heights resident, had 2 sons at Manasquan High School, and he directed the Indian scene. Manasquan resident Jim Mastrian directed the Declaration of Independence scene. Jim played John Adams, and Tom Hines, as Patrick Henry, had the audience on their feet at the end of his "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. D. Twaddell directed the Rescue at Sea action. An interesting point here. If you listen closely to the sound, it's a bit off on that scene. As it turned out, when we did the live recording, the synthesizer creating all the wind drowned out the orchestra. The actual live sound in the gym was fine, but our recording was a big whoosh. Well, I went back and found our rehearsal tape of that scene, and it really sounded some better. So I cut the audio and inserted that under the video instead of the big whoosh. The only problem is if you listen closely, you can hear Jeff Eyrick and me shouting rehearsal directions at one point. Aaron Clancy directed the education in the 1850s scene. And of course, the final scene, the meeting of the first mayor and council meeting, was directed by then Mayor John Wintersteller. And yes, there was a Pact of Manasquan. I will not ever forget the goosebumps while these men said their pledges to the town and then signed the pact. All of those in attendance witnessed and made their pledge to the town as well. The entire audience took part. Reverend Wookter spoke, "I, as Manasquan of this historical pageant, sign also. May the future generations of our fair borough look back to this night with reverence and with pride at what we, the people of 1987, have done here tonight." Powerful words they were. Everyone then rose and repeated, "We pledge now and forever loyalty to our borough." And then we all sang Peter Meyer's Manasquan anthem. Truly, Manasquan's own song. As I now look at the list of performers, I see names of people who participated in 1987 who have passed. The complete cast list is on the video. I think also of those people who 50 years earlier were once again involved in the 1987 pageant. People like George Rowe, Jim Van Scoyk, as well as many others who were children in 1937. I wrote in 1987 that the pageant should be done again. Local historical pageants have died in the United States. The pageant of Manasquan in 1987 appears to be the final historical town pageant ever presented in the United States. We were afraid the pageant might be viewed as something anachronistic, something people saw as a long historical essay which took too much work and cost too much money, without much entertainment. In fact, it was 2 of the most glorious, exciting evenings ever held in this town. Do it again.
May the future generations of our fair borough look back on this night with reverence and with pride at what we, the people of 1987, have done here tonight. Here lies the glory of our borough. Are you ready for the forward march of Manasquan?
Aye.
Then may our legions advance. I greet you, my people. May your lives be ever peaceful and industrious. May God be gracious to you all. Let the acclamation of my people ring forth. Will you please rise and repeat after me? We pledge now and forever loyalty to our borough. Now we will conclude this grand evening by singing our Manasquan anthem. The words are on the back of your program.